Hello, everyone. How are you this beautiful, wonderful? I don't know what to call it. It ain't winter no more. Well, it's kind of in between messing with us. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? welcome,
Nature's
well.
not quite sure what she want to do.
Can you hear me, Diva? Are you with
Yeah.
us?
Can you
All
hear
right,
me?
then. Yeah, I can hear you perfectly fine. We want to welcome everybody to Vision for Change presents a conversation at the wall. We've been advertising on social media for so many couple of weeks now, and we are so glad you are able to join us this wonderful evening. So let me give you a little bit about myself in case you guys don't know. My name is John Stevenson. This is the wonderful, the beautiful, right there. I'm pointing right at you, right? The diva. Y'all see the diva.
Hey, y'all.
All right, she's going to be with us as we go through this conversation with our guest we have tonight. But it's just a little bit about Vision for Change. If you've been hanging with me for a little while, we had the Vision for Change radio show that we had for a few years on Radio 1. And we had some wonderful, wonderful guests. And Diva is the associate producer, for those who don't know, to help produce some of those wonderful, those beautiful shows that we had. And one of the things that our goal was to make sure we present content that would be life changing. You know, sometimes people will say, I can't do this. They can't change. This is hard to change in my life. I don't see how to do this. And so we presented things and entertainers, guests, educators, politicians, whomever, to show you that you can change. Because I believe if you can see that change, you can be the change that you see and that you think about, right, Dee?
Yep. Absolutely.
So that was our goal. That was our goal. And so we're doing it now here with our podcast, and we're recording this podcast live here. And so if you are watching us on any of the platforms, whether it be YouTube, whether it be Facebook, go ahead. You can enter into the conversation with us. We welcome your questions, your comments, some of your stuff. If you've got a question, you can read it on air. If you've got a comment, we can read it on air. Be respectful, please. And so we ask you to join us. Join us here. This is just a fireside chat, I call it. But we got special guests we want to highlight what our guest is about. And right now, I'm going to highlight my co-host that's with me today, the Diva. And she's going to join us in the conversation this evening. And also, she's got a special treat for us because on our weekly podcast, we're going to have what's called the Diva Dose. And so, Diva, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're going to present to us here at Vision for Change.
I just want to give a little snippet of what's going on in the world, whether it's reality TV. I'm a reality TV junkie because I tend to look at it for entertainment because some of it's ridiculous, but then turn it around to how it could be something in real life. Because in real life, I'm not flipping tables and throwing drinks at folks in restaurants. Or it could be something that's going on in real life, this war that's going on, social injustice, whatever. Something to make you think, something to make you smile, something to make you laugh. Just some doses of me on some everyday topics.
And we're going to bring it as real as we can bring it. So, yes,
Indeed.
we faith-based, but,
Absolutely.
sometimes people do, how when they say we're faith-based, I'm churchy,
Right.
again, hallelujah, the book of Acts says, we may have some of that, but I got a platform for that.
Right.
It's that. Okay? So, truth be told, some of my guests might slip and cuss because that's who we talk to. So I'm not I feel like I got to cuss, but if my guests come out, I'm not gonna go cut them off. And it's not me. So we're gonna bring it to you as what it is. All right. Well, tonight I don't want to delay it any longer because I've been looking forward to this conversation for so long. One of my best friends in ministry. Um, I got to say it like that because he calls me his big brother in ministry. But man, there's some things that we talk about, and when I tell you I love having conversations with this man of God, it is so enjoyable because we get deep into biblical things and things that are real, Diva. It's just some stuff that
Mm-hmm.
people don't talk about. That's the real. We actually touched on. We're going to talk about homosexuality and the church and all kind of stuff. We got
Mm-hmm.
stuff coming up. And he can bring it raw and real where you live. And he's an author. He's a pastor. He's a man of God. But when I tell you, wisdom and just genius. He just has this wisdom that he has to bring things so practical. Um, I just love this guy. So Vision for Change family, please welcome my good friend, my brother in the faith, Pastor.
What's good, family?
What's going on, man?
Man, you gave me the Steve Harvey intro. You know what I mean? You gave me the Steve Harvey joint, baby.
I
should have had some music in the background.
You know what I'm saying? Should have had that, you know.
Looking for the drum roll.
Yeah.
Shaft music.
Or Bad and Bougie, something like that.
And then, see, Pastor Korey, you could have kind of pimped into the screen, you know.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you see, that's what we don't give me no ideas, y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man,
brother, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. It's been a great week. I just got back off some vacation, so I'm ready to hit the road working today.
I know one of them vacations that you didn't tell me you was going. I'm like, well, I sent him a text and he said he was. I'm like, wait a minute.
You gotta bubble softly, man. You can't let them know. You can't let them know when they start.
Give up all your moves.
Nah, you can't give it up. That's when the haters start coming out and they want to count all your coins.
Well, brother, man, tell us about the legend, the man who is Korey Grice, man. Give us a little bit about yourself. You know, for those who know me, I don't like reading them long bios because they get so long. I think we talk to the people, man. They can say, here's who I am, this is what I do, and it can be long or short as you want. It's your floor. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Well, look, man, you are my big brother. Make no mistake about it. I have known Elder. Should I say Elder John, Big J? I don't know what to call you on this platform. No, Elder John, Michelle, you all have been a part of my life since my early years and have been a part of that faith rearing and that foundation to trust God. And that's just kind of who I am. I'm a faith man who trusts God. I love my family. I am grateful for my children, and I am deeply engaged in the work that I do and the community that I serve. And I think that's been the biggest shift and change in my own personal life and in my core values. I've been preaching for 24 years. Can you believe it? 24 years. It's crazy, right? I've been pastoring this goes on year 14. I've been pastoring. But what has shifted is my values, that no longer is it about just the preaching of the word of faith. That is valuable. But one person asked this question, one author asked this question, if your church was to disappear from the community, would that community miss you? And for most churches, the community probably wouldn't miss them because they're not actively engaged. And so that took a turn in my core values, and it changed our church name. It changed our business model, and we are bringing something substantive to the community at this point. And so we are now the Life Turn Church. But we also have the Life Turn Center, which is a mental health group practice that offers mental health and counseling for families, individuals, and couples. But we are also opening up the Life Turn School. Actually, I don't know if we're going to call it Life Turn School or the Christian Leadership Academy, but prayerfully in September, we'll be opening up the Christian Leadership Academy so that the church can put roots down in the community and actually meet the needs that are going on in the community. Where I live here in Delaware County, especially for African Americans, educational gap is wide. And so why not offer some leadership qualities, some Christian values into the school into the education system to help bridge that gap. But you all also know our families are struggling. Yes, they're getting preached to on Sunday morning, but y'all know somebody need to sit their butt on the couch and talk about that trauma, talk about them relationships. All the oil and tongues ain't gonna work out your trauma, right?
Right. Look. I said I'm gonna be. You preaching right now, bro.
And so we those two things, education and therapy, they're in my wheelhouse. They are part of my gifting, and so this is just who I am. We're helping families, we're educating students, and we still preaching that gospel, that good Baptist gospel. We still preaching it.
I love it, man. I love it because what you're doing is you're preaching without preaching by your example of what you're doing. Because you're not only a pastor that's preaching, but pastors can have the entrepreneurship. They can be in business. They can, and it's something that's still giving back. And he's talking about service, and we're talking about serving. It didn't mean that you couldn't put a price on the certain things, your time and things that you're doing. And I think that's part of what God is giving a lot of men of God now, wisdom to do different things like that. And that what you just said about sitting on that couch, yes, we know there's an anointing. We know that you gotta have the power through the word. We understand that. But the Bible does tell us that we have to renew our minds. And I personally believe the reason we don't see the miracles is because people have unrenewed minds. As mental struggle, there's things blocking that.
I mean, one of the Hebrew words for healing is therapeuto. It is the process and development of psychological and emotional healing, right? So all that confession you're doing about healing and all that kind of stuff, sit your butt down, talk to somebody, and engage in the process of unpacking all that stuff that's been locked away for so long.
Because there's so many adults walking around in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, but they're still functioning as that 8-year-old, that 15-year-old, that 30-year-old who was traumatized by whatever, a parent, an uncle, a school bully, whatever. But they're grown men and women, but their mindset is still back at that 12-year-old who was traumatized.
Can I be honest? I'll be honest, right? I think it was about 37, 38. I realized I'm crazy. I got some stuff wrong with me. Come on, I know some folks know what I'm talking about, right? You hit that age 40 transition and you start to realize, man, my head is jacked up, man.
Dude, listen, I say this all the time, you know, and we're gonna talk about family, you know, we're gonna, but I say this all the time. I said, you know what? I realized how impatient I was when I got married. I had kids. I realized that I'm patient. I'm temperate. I got all that. I'm long suffering till I got married and got kids, and I realized, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. So y'all, can I get a witness?
Can I get a witness? Okay, shoot.
Yeah. For our social media family, I will let you guys join in the conversation. Put your comments in. If I catch them, man, I'm gonna try to read them and ask Pastor Korey. But Pastor Korey, you was getting ready to say something.
I was just gonna say, you know, it's true. They say that marriage and family is like a melting pot, right? So it heats up all of the areas that we have not developed in. And so, man, when you, like you said, when you get married, you have children, you like, man, I ain't patient, I ain't kind, I ain't long suffering. I don't even know if I still love Jesus after so
right. Am I saved? Am I still saved? Right. Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And if you have been praying before, you prayed in. You pray because when you run out of things that you thought, and then I realized how much a genius my mother was. Because when I was young, it's like, about, man, she don't understand. Oh yeah, my mama I had a genius in my midst. I'm my mama now.
Aren't those the moments that kind of surprise you the most? Like, did I say that? Did I think that?
It's all the things I said I wouldn't do when I grow up and have children. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna say that. And then I turn around like my mama's in the room. Who said that? Wait a minute. Oh, that was me. Ooh.
Yeah. I sound like Ms. Ruth sometimes. I tease my sister. You sound just like Mom. And she used to when we were younger, she said, stop saying that. But no, you know, after a while, she's like, I'm proud to be her. Yeah, my mother had a lot of wisdom. And see, I think it was it Wellington Boone? You can probably correct me on that, Pastor Korey, wrote a book that says, God sometimes sounds like my wife.
Yeah.
It was a book, but God sounds like my mama, my wife, you know, all of man. I'm telling you, there's some things that I saw in myself, and it helped me grow up. Yeah. You know, having my wife and my family just helped me grow up and get that silage out of me, you know. And sometimes I got correct. Even my kids, you know. So there's some things I'm sure we'll get into deeper. You hear me? Yes, my kids tell me something. And you know, that pride to come in like, I'm the dad. Then you go
right.
He's right.
Yeah. My daughters take pride in checking me because I've always told them, you know, call me out respectfully. So, mama, well, that don't sound like faith to me. Go.
I know.
Get out of here.
Yeah. We preach that faith stuff, and all of a sudden you say something that's doubt and they check you on it, you're like, What you gonna say against that? That's Bible. You put it in.
Exactly. Because that youngest one, when she was little, can I go to the carnival? Can I? Oh, girl, we don't have no money for that. Pastor Bruce said we millionaires and billionaires. So, go get the belt. What can I do to that? I want to punish him for butting all of that, but you right. Let me go pray. I can get some money together. You can go to the carnival.
Hey, one of the things you mentioned, Pastor Brew Diva, and that Pastor Korey. We all grew up. All of us, all three of us, grew up under great man of God, Pastor Dwayne Brewington, and great word of faith. And we didn't just get taught faith over the pulpit; we saw it. We saw the shift in their own personal lives and how they took the principles of faith and applied it to their finances, their health, and even their own families. So there's some things that we got. And then Pastor Korey worked with me at Victory as our youth director, for those who don't know. Great with youth, put together some spectacular college tours, took a bus with 55 people, something like that, filled the bus between our church and then the churches in Philly, and took them all on a college tour, man. And they came back just renewed thinking, man. Your influence and your impact, no matter where you go, I see you've touched lives, man. So talk about that youth, because for a long time that was the thing, your space. But now, as you grow, you shifted into what we're getting ready to talk about tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think that exposure is the biggest thing that transformed my life when I was a student, right? It was exposure to you, exposure to Pastor Brewington, exposure to the other great men and women of God, and not just their life, but the places that I was able to travel and see. That kind of exposure stretched my thinking. And as a youth pastor, as an educator, as an administrator, I still hold that value to be a core value at what I do, doing my best to expose students, families to something greater. I was reading a study the other day that I think it said like 65% of people in this country never live or work outside of their neighborhoods. They spend the majority of their life in the city that they were born and raised in. Why does that happen? Because there's no exposure, there's no opportunity to see that there is something outside of where I am. There is life going on outside of where I am, and Jesus wants me to have that abundant life and experience that life on a regular basis. So I'm still an administrator in the school district of Philadelphia. I am still in the process of opening my own school so that I can continue to push the legacy and continue to expose students and families even more.
Man, see, now family, see why I love this guy.
I love you, man. I love you, man. I love y'all.
Okay, man, I'm gonna tap a couple of things that on my social media last week and this week. I posted a couple of videos. Well, first video, let's talk about this first video, and then we're gonna dive into this book. It'll be a segue into the book, Blended. Was a father, and it was the Ring doorbell. And just to kind of give you guys a summary of what happened, that you see the father, and he's taking his young daughter. She's about 8 or 9, and they're going to school. And he's talking to her. Evidently, he's talking to her about being punctual, being on time, or something of that nature. And she says, "Don't talk to me." He said, "What? He said, "You know what? I'm not going to deal with this morning. No, that's too much taking to school." And he takes her back to that door. She doesn't get any. Leaves her hand, and he closes the door, and he leaves and goes to work. And it went viral. And man, there were so many different opinions about it. I have my own. I'm gonna throw it to Dr. Grice and the Dr. Diva, and give me what you guys because you guys saw the video, correct?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We'll start with that one, and it's a dad moment. I heard some comments that said and most of the comments like, "That's right, boy," but if that was me, my mama, I know they were black because they would have knocked my head off. Boy, I'd have got beat. I'd have got body slammed if I said that. Then there was some that was like, "He's a weak man. He's a weak man. He could have done a better choice," and all kinds of things. I mean, let's go with you, Dr. Grice, and the deeper you go.
Well, I ain't gonna say he's weak because he probably, like many of us, hit our limit and say, you know what, let my mama deal with you before I really hurt you. So I applaud him for walking out that doggone door. Because kids push you there sometimes, man. They push them limits, and instead of me going to prison for abuse,
Yeah.
right?
There it is, right
I
there.
would have closed that door and walked out and said, "Mom, I'm gonna let your mama deal with you as well." Right? I think the other half of it is there needs to be a conversation had because it's just this sense of entitlement. I think every generation has it, right? Children start to grow. My mama used to say, my grandmama used to say, "You smelling yourself, right? Uh, you get too big for your britches, right?" And sometimes they need that rod of correction, whether it is a physical rod or a tongue rod that helps bring them back in to the realities that they are dealing with. But man, I applaud my man. My man walked out that door, shut that door, and I thought that was a very temperate moment that he said, "Listen, before I lose control, let me walk out this door." And let mama deal with you. Now, if that was my mama, right? If that was Miss Ruth,
Yeah, yeah.
I would be needing my teeth. I would be needing my teeth right now. Right?
Boy, you know,
Yeah.
Diva.
Devo.
Whew.
She
I'm still
hot. She
growing
said,
and becoming. I am growing and becoming. Let me just say that. When I first saw the video, I probably had my save card on the shelf for just a moment. And I was like, oh, the way I would have snatched her soul out of her body. I mean, but then the flip side of that is I think he was good in walking away because he had a moment where reality set in and was like, I don't want to go to jail over killing this child.
That's right.
So I'm gonna take a deep breath and go on to work and let your mama handle you. Now if she kill you, that's all on her. I'm not doing no time.
Oh
yeah.
God.
My wife and I discussed that video, and I had what both of you all said. I felt both ways. I think for me personally, and if you guys are on Facebook, you can add to the comments. I'll read your comments if I can catch them. I thought to myself, I said, man, it depends on, I am the kind of father and husband. Right now, if I'm not going to say something good, I don't say anything. It's best for me to be quiet because I know I'm not going to say the right things. So it's like, okay, let me chill. I have nothing to say because right now I'm very, very angry or I'm upset. And then it's bad. Now, after my wife Karen put, she said she didn't think it was fair for him to just dump it on mama because mama could have said, oh, this is my day to sleep in. He could have been doing something else. And I agree. I said, that's true because he didn't even go tell mama, hey, he said, you go tell your mama. So
Right.
mama probably could have been in the bathroom. What you doing here still? Now inconvenience mama. And so as First Lady Karen would say, she said, you could have dealt with that later. Which I said, okay, that's a good point. He could have, okay, I'm gonna deal with this later on, and now because you thought you got smart and got away with it. Now I remember this time when I was younger that if I did something in school, and my dad didn't. The one time that my dad, because y'all know I ain't had no daddy growing up, right? So one time he came over and from his other family they lived with, and my mother had him wake me up and beat me for something I did in school, So that was like, he ain't coming through here, No, I'm thinking that I got away with it. Nope. So, that dad could have did that. Remember what you said earlier today? You want to talk to me? Yeah. I can't see her going, yeah, Father, I apologize. I was just not having a good day. Nah, she'd be like, yeah. Well, turn that TV off, take this, something would have been a consequence later, And then, like Karen said, I wouldn't have let that upset my day. Okay, I can see that side of it too. I can see it. But, it depends on where you was at and what the situation was. Because, like you said, Pastor Korey, instead of, I'm upset or whatever and reacting, especially because we're all growing with our kids. People don't realize it. You think you know it. No, at the different stages they go through, I'm growing with you.
Exactly.
So I'm at this place here, and I was like, all right, let me not say nothing. Video number 2 was Shula King, the comedian.
Hilarious.
And what he had, he posted it. It's so funny. If you're on my social media pages after this, don't go right now. You want to hear what we got to say? Go after we finish this. He had a split screen and he showed it was a note on the door. You have missed curfew, I guess, again. And so do not ring the doorbell. Do not knock. As a courtesy this time, we left you a blanket. You can sleep on the porch. And I was like, man, all the comments was like, I know that's right. And he was saying, now I know that's right. You know, he said one lady told him that her son goes at football practice, goes to Buffalo Wild Wings. He said, Buffalo Wild Wings, they serve liquor. What you doing there?
After football practice? Nah, bro.
You get here and you got 30 minutes basically, and your body temperature better be the temperature of the room, you know, all that kind of stuff. You know? So, okay, was that too much, Pastor Korey? You know,
no. Listen, I remember it reminded me of a time I wasn't even supposed to go out, but I snuck out, right? I came back home. Now, my dad wasn't living at my house at that time. My parents were together. My dad was living in North Carolina. So I got home. I tried to sneak in. Of course, my mama caught me, right? I came home. All the lights was on. I'm like, dog, she up, right? So I get there. She beat me when I walked in the door and said, stand at the door. Matter of fact, you going to stand sleeping up tonight. You can't sleep in my house. You going to stand at that door. Then my dad gets on the phone and said, do you think you too grown? You think I won't drive from North Carolina and come up there and deal with you? Don't you know, while I was standing at the door trying to sleep, he showed up 3-4 hours later in the middle of the night.
What, man?
Woo! Wore me out, okay? Wore me out and drove back to North Carolina.
See what I'm saying? See now right there, some people are like, yeah, all right, there we go.
But I think it speaks to a larger issue here, right? If we don't give our children boundaries, then they're going to continue to run all over us. And it's not just giving them boundaries, but enforcing those boundaries, right? I see too many students today. And please don't take this the wrong way, but you 12 with a tattoo, something wrong. Right, you 9, you got your own cell phone and you got porn on your cell phone. Why ain't nobody monitoring you? Where are the boundaries? Right. So what I appreciate about that parent is that it wasn't just a threat. It was a boundary that you have crossed, and here are the consequences for crossing those boundaries. If we don't put boundaries in the life of our children, then culture and the law will teach them the boundaries that we refuse to enforce. So we can't. I want to jump back a little bit to the first video. You know, I appreciate the guy walking away because I've seen some other parents lose their mind in the store, lose their mind at the school, cuss the kid out, cuss the principal out, cuss the teachers out. But if we put these kind of boundaries in place, letting our children know this is as far as going to go, or you might have to find somewhere else to live, then we might eliminate some of the behaviors and the repetitive things that continue to go on in our houses. Set some boundaries for your doggone kids. Come on now.
Diva, what you think about that, what he said?
You know, it seems like a lot of parents are afraid of their children. So, you know, I don't want you to be mad at me. So I'm gonna let you go to the party this time. But if you do it again, and then little Johnny and little Susie does it again, oh well, now nothing. Now
Facts.
I have gotten to a point where I'm not all my mama, because my mama I mumbled something under my breath one day because she kept telling me to get off the phone, and I was like, yeah, girl, blah, 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 blah. Didn't I tell you to get off the phone? Yeah, girl, blah, blah, blah. She told me to get off. Girl, let me call you back. I hung up the phone, and I'm going to be real. I walked past her, and I said F, but I said the whole F. I mumbled it. Now, I know she didn't hear what I said, because I wouldn't be here right now having this conversation.
I know that's right.
She just knows that I mumbled something under my breath. So I walked past this. I'm like, F you. Walked past it. The next thing I know, she spun me around and she said, boom, right here. I was like, I got to the living room where my dad always sat and watched TV, and because I'm daddy's little girl, so I played it up like she killed. What's wrong with you? Mama just punched me. Get a little sympathy, but it was because I mumbled something under my breath. So there's still some of that in me, but I'm more so, let's not kill it. Let's have a conversation, see what's going on, because some people fail to realize children go through mental health issues as well. You know, bullying is an issue, fitting in is an issue, even body images for children is an issue.
So, big issue, huge issue.
Yes.
We gotta keep that in mind. I had to remind myself that my grandchildren went through this pandemic, are still going through this pandemic, just like we were. And just like we got tired of being in the house and looking at each other and just like, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna go to the car, if nothing else, because I'm tired of looking at y'all. My grandchildren were probably tired of looking at us, probably tired of looking at each other, doing the same things, can't go out and be with their friends and go to Chuck E. Cheese or whatever. So I had to remind myself, they're just as frustrated. They just can't voice what they're going through the way that we can because they're children and they don't want to be out of place or anything. They need boundaries because they're very entitled.
I've heard it twice. You gotta have the boundaries, but then also the understanding and the love. And I always thought that when, because I'm married, Ken, we've had 2 children that when we came together, and I always felt like I was the bridge to my son Matthew with her, and vice versa. So things we had to create. But I'm not going to take what you're going to talk about, Pastor Korey. So we're going to take a small break right here, and when we come back, we're going to get into this book and really get some wisdom from you, and especially for those who are out here listening that have blended families. You may know somebody that has a blended family. Some strategies, some things that can help them. But our break is to be a live break. It's a break from the conversation, but we're about to go into something that we call the Diva Dose. And
let's get it.
My girl, the Diva, is here with us live. She may not be live with us. We're trying to have her, here every time I come live and do something to add the flavor to what we do. She adds flavor to my life. She's been helping me. She's been the associate producer of the Vision for Change radio show for some time. She's been behind the scenes. She's jumped in. She's been a call-in guest while I was on the radio. She's done so very much, but she's got things going on in her own personal life right now where she's doing some great things, stepping out on faith with shifting souls. And so we're about to get a taste of the Diva Dose, sponsored by Page. Come on, give it to us, Diva.
So I figured since Pastor Korey will be talking about blended families, I would stay in the little family realm. So I don't know how many of you know it. Will Smith has rebooted, if you will, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But it's Bel-Air and it's more dramatic. So Will, he got into more than just a little bit of a fight. He got a gun charge, went to jail. So you got a rich uncle, pull some strings. That's how he gets to Bel-Air. Running from this now drug dealer who's looking for him because that's who he pulled the gun on. Okay, so we get to Bel-Air. Phil ain't fat. Phil look good. He wearing a suit real well. He running for district attorney.
I heard Uncle Phil and Jeffrey got swag on this one. I heard.
Now Jeffrey is a straight gangster. I call him the handler because he said, "Don't worry about that. We're not gonna worry your aunt and uncle with that. I'm gonna take care of it." Next thing I know, the drug dealer pops up dead. Sorry about the spoiler alerts. So I call Jeffrey the handler. He's the house manager. He's not the butler. He the handler. Anybody line, Jeffrey's like, "I'll handle it," and then people disappear. Carlton, he feels threatened by Will's presence. He got some anxiety issues going on. He plays lacrosse, and he doing a different dance. He ain't doing that one. He's doing a line dance, a line of cocaine. That's what Carlton does, into cocaine. So Hillary, she's not stupid. she's still finding herself, but she's an influencer and an inspiring chef. Ashley, she's cute. She's 12. She got some sexual identity crisis, so she likes boys and she likes girls. So we're going that route. Aunt Viv, she, I think, resents the fact that she kind of gave up on her dream to be a painter to support Phil. And so now she wants to get back into her dream. Enter Michael Ealy, who I cannot remember his character name, but it don't matter, fine as he is.
I didn't know he was.
I didn't know he was on there.
I didn't know he was on it either.
He's coming to, he has an art gallery or something, and he's giving Vivian a section where she can put her art up, and just the way that he looks at her, I'm like, y'all gonna have an affair. So that's pretty much the gist of that particular family. So I'd love to hear any pointers you have on helping them out, Pastor Korey, because that's a little more than a blended family. So yeah, that's just a different type of family. So that's my little diva dose of the day on Bel Air that airs on Paramount.
You gonna make me check it out. I have yet to watch it. I kind of like the funny Fresh Prince. I got enough drama myself, so I don't even like dramas. I want to laugh, but I'm gonna check it out. You convinced me to check it out tonight.
Yeah, I heard a little bit about it, and I was like, man, the one thing I heard about Carlton and Cocaine, I'm like, okay, y'all messing it up for me. I still want to laugh at Goofy Carlton, you know.
You cannot watch this thinking, you cannot watch this thinking Tom Jones gonna be playing in the background. This is totally different. So the reviews are mixed. Some people, my daughter and her boyfriend, they're like, oh, I can't stand it. They shouldn't have named it Bel Air. They should have used different people. This is no. And because I saw the movie that the random guy on social media did 3 years ago, and Will's been talking about it ever since, I already knew to separate it from the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. So can't go into it with that 90s mindset, because you're going to be a little disappointed when you see Cole. Wait a minute.
Well, fam, that's the diva dose of the day, and she will give us weekly updates on what's going on, what's happening, what's things in case you missed it. You know, I know some folks who are born again say, I don't watch TV. I don't listen. Just enjoy your life. And
they lying.
You know, so, I know.
They lie. They lie.
They lie, right? They're right. They lie.
They lie.
So, anyhow, that's Diva Dose of the Day. Also, you can catch Diva. She's always good. What's your social media, Diva?
What is my social media? That's sad.
We'll pop it up in the comments. You on the social media.
Yeah, do that, because on Instagram.
Yeah, she can help shift your soul. Great woman, great mentor, and she's mentoring some different things out there. So yeah, she gave us a Diva dose, but this woman's full of wisdom. So thank you, Diva. That's our Diva dose of the day. All right, now we're gonna get into this book, man. This is your second book, right?
Yes, my second work. Yes, sir. It's my second work.
The second book, and this one I think touched the soul. Well, the other one touched the soul. But this one here, I know we did something before on the radio with your other book, but this one here. Just how many people I know. I do premarital counseling, and I've done some marriage, a lot of marriage counseling, and I've done more for blended families than I have. I mean, I'm seeing more blended families than traditional. You know, I come from mama and daddy, you come from mom and daddy, then we get married, then we have a family. You know, that's just not the makeup of the family here in the United States anymore. And so the book Blended. The biblical strategies on how to work with a blended family. I just love it, man. What prompted you to write this book?
You know, so for me, man, when I got married, I became a husband and a father at the same day, right? But I did not have any biblical-based resources to help me guide me through that process. I mean, marriage alone. I mean, you can do all the premarital counseling you want, and I'm not shooting down premarital counseling, but you know, like I know, marriage is going to bring some stuff with it that premarital cannot prepare you for, right? It's just because we people, right? We all come to the table with our challenges, but I just didn't have a guide, something that I could look at and read and give me some foundational biblical truths. Now, I want to say this: I view life through the biblical lens. Some people put a different hermeneutic on their eyes. I use the biblical hermeneutic to decide what decisions I'm going to make. The Bible is my undergirding. So I didn't have a resource for that. And I want to say this, the resources that I did find, they were kind of written for people who weren't of my ethnicity or my culture.
Okay.
And so I wanted to write something that would help some families and use some biblical basis and some of my own personal experience that would help people create some healthy environments. Like you said, this country, and not just this country, around the world, people on their second, third, sometimes even fourth marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And children come into the picture, grandchildren comes into the picture, properties come into the picture. And it's not just it's not just married people that create blended families. There are single fathers, that's a blended family that is never acknowledged, right? Single mothers are there, grandparents who are raising children, that's another blended family that's never acknowledged. And
Right.
so I wanted to give some stuff, yes, for marriage, but that's also some things that would help create a healthy environment for the family. The book doesn't answer every question, but it will certainly give you a firm foundation of some strategies that you can use to help create a healthy environment for your family to flourish in.
You know, I started reading the book, and you know, okay, I thought chapter 4 was rich, you know, and because you're very transparent. I called him and told him he kicked it off right in the preface. Just, you know, I grew up in a home like this, and this is what happened. It's like you didn't quote anything. So we're not gonna give away the whole book because we want you to go get the book. And
Yeah, we do.
And it's something that it's not just a one time read. From what I'm looking at, it's like go back over these things because there's things like we stated earlier. There's levels to parenting. You know,
Yeah.
I found that for myself, I had the level when my children were babies. And then when it became adolescent, it were teenagers, there was a different, and even now, I'm still parenting, but it's just a different model, you know, than, you know, it's just changed. It's still doing it where I know the Bible tells us that, you know, children obey your parents in the Lord. When they're young, they obey. Then I believe when they get older, they honor, and they begin to honor and they get parented that way. So in chapter 4, there were some things you mentioned about, you know, biblically, because I know I went through this guilt when there's certain things that came up with my children. I felt like I was a bad parent, but you mentioned that God, you know, in the book was a parent. And think about it, Adam, his son wasn't perfect.
No, none of his children are. All right. But I mean, I use the scripture and God's church as the basis for the book, because the reality is God is a father, right? And his church is made up of all kinds of children: black, white, gay, straight, Spanish, you know, single, married. There's all kinds of people who make up the local church, and we have to learn to function with each other, serve together, eat together, pray together, learn together. And this scripture is the greatest model for how to raise a blended family, because the church is a blended family. I mean, I call Miss Michelle mom. When I came on, it was like, hey mom, because that's what I've known. I've always known her, and I'm 40 years old. But when I was 10, 15, it was still, hey mom, right? All the people in the church was, hey mom, hey dad, because that's the kind of blended family that the church is made up of. And I'm confident the church will never die out. I want to say that to all those people who are criticizing that the church has lost its influence and that the church is not relevant for today. You have lost your mind. The pandemic only thing the pandemic did was expose churches who had substance and those who did not. God will never abandon his bride. Christ is married to the church, and you and I, we are his children. And so if we follow those principles that Jesus loved, cared for, provides for, protects his bride and the children who are a part of that family, man, we can avoid some of the major pitfalls that I've seen ruin blended families over things that are very minuscule.
You know, I love what you said about God being married to the church. That's so true. It exposed if you really were ministering, you know, during this pandemic. And Jesus is married to his church, and the church is not a building; it's the people.
It's the people.
And we're looking for the work of God amongst his people. And so when people think, well, he's supposed to be pastor, but he got no church. If he's got a following, he's got people he's ministering to, you know, it's a church, you know.
Yeah.
The Bible says that Paul, where the cry of the people were, you know, and they wasn't in a building, you know, right? They were, and so there were cries. You know, one thing that I saw in the book you had mentioned, you know, you got to have somebody that's anointed to bring things out. And so you did mention about basically Joseph was like a step parent.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
He raising somebody else's kid that's not his own.
Right.
I mean, Lord Jesus, how many of us parents have had to do that? I mean, you show up as a parent, and I think that's one of the first strategies that we talked about in the book is acceptance, right? So when I show up as a parent, as a step parent, I can't do anything but accept who that child is, who their parent is, and the culture that already exists. If what happens most times is a step parent comes in and they want to try to rearrange everything. Well, hold up. The culture existed before you got there. I mean, I kind of mentioned it in the book. My son, I call him my stepson, but he my kid. I raised him, right? He
Yeah, right.
he was Prince Hakeem when I showed up, right? I mean, everything was done for him. And I don't want to say that to criticize. He was in a very loving environment. His mom, his grandparents, they were all there for him, and he was served. I mean, I remember the first time we went out to dinner. We went out to a nice restaurant. Usually, when you go out to dinner, you know, you 6, 7 years old, you get the kiddie menu. My man was ordering steak and shrimp. I said, well, what's going on here, Lord Jesus? I'm used to get them tenders and them fries, right? get that burger and that macaroni and cheese, bro.
Right.
So it was a culture shock for me, and I couldn't criticize the culture. I had to accept the culture. Now, for those of you who are looking at me like I'm crazy and say, "Oh, that ain't Bible," that's not true. The Bible says we are all accepted into the beloved. Preach Christ. He takes us the way that we are, all of our challenges, all of our issues, and he accepts us. That's the value of the church community, that there is no judgment. Like Paul says, we seek to know no man after the flesh. We accept you as who you are, and we let God and the Holy Spirit do the work on you that he continues to do in us. I think that's what makes Life Turn Church so transformational, because we don't care where you come from. Gay, straight, black, white, money, no matter where you come from, you are accepted. And it is that acceptance, and not only that acceptance, but that satisfaction that we get from the Father that allows every one of us to grow. And so I think the same thing has to be done in your family. We all have to accept. We have to accept each other as parents, right? Our parenting styles, the culture that we were raised in our home, I want to push this a little further. Even the trauma that comes with us as parents, right? We all come with traumatic issues, especially if your skin has been darkened by nature's sun. You got some trauma that you show up with to the marriage situation. And so it is accepting that child, accepting that spouse that says, I love you regardless of whatever you're going through. And so that's one of the first strategies that we deal with. We deal with acceptance. And I think we got to accept. Stop trying to change everybody and just work on accepting who they are. I have learned, and I'll stop here. I've learned the more that I accept who my wife is, who my stepson is, then I began to, once I accepted them, I started to learn what made them who they are. And when I learned what made them who they are, now I know how to how to respond when those pressure moments come up. And I learned now how not to take what they're saying or what they're doing the wrong way or through my own. We feel, you know, we filter through our own set of ideas. We filter what they're doing through their own set of ideas. When we accept them, we learn, okay, this is what's making them tick. This is what's making them grow. And if we learn those things, man, we might stop some of them holes being put into some of y'all walls at y'all house for all that fussing and fighting. You know?
And you know, I think when people think that you are a pastor or a minister, you don't go through things with your children. And, you know, I've been through a few things, you know, it's interesting, Diva, we talked years ago. We all been through things, you know, and it makes you grow up. You know, I would never try to, you know, certain things that go in my tails. I ask their permission, can I share, you know, so certain things I don't share.
Sure.
But my sons will give their testimony to some things that they walked through. And they're my biological. My oldest son, Matt, of course, I brought him into I had him, Karen had Ashley. And we got along as a family, but there were different things, as you mentioned, with culture, a different way. When I married Karen, there's a different way she did things. And she saw raising children totally different than I did. It wasn't say everything she did was right or everything I did was right. We had to come together and we had to bring those two mindsets and those two cultures together for what we need to do for today. Because we can, you know, go back to the past and there's certain qualities and principles you can have to raise the children that are standard. But Marcus, John, Matthew, Ashley, Dominique, you know, even my nephew Jamal, John, none of them, they weren't me, you know. So I had to take each one of them for who they were. And at times it was challenging, but I had to respect who they were. You know, we had standards in our house.
Yeah.
But each individual was different. When you say a diva, I mean, your babies.
Yeah, my girl is totally different. The old one,
Your face.
you know, there was just some days that I just wanted to choke her in her sleep. It's just, you know, I said the sky was blue, she's gonna say it was red. If I said it was raining, she's gonna say it's sunny. It just was a constant, I just don't like you, lady, so I'm gonna irritate you. Now, baby girl, when she was younger, no issues. The biggest issue we had with her was not coming home on time because Sally said she wasn't gonna be my friend if I went home. Outside of that, no issues. They got older, it got reversed. And I choked the youngest one in her sleep. So it just depends. Everything doesn't work for every child. And my mother was just beat her too. And if he come over, beat him. Just beat him. Just you know.
And that's not always the answer, you know.
It's not. It's not.
No, because I got tired of beating that oldest one of mine. Girl, I don't even care. I don't even care what you're doing because I'm tired. I'm tired. Yeah. So that wasn't working for her. It just, I'm not sure what would have worked for her. We tried to take her to the police station. Go, take her. Said, ma'am, you can't do that. I said, well, take her now or take her later. But if you take her now, I don't want to
Oh God.
So, you just gotta handle your children know that they're individuals and they have their own individual personalities, so they need to be dealt with differently.
Yeah, I think you hit a key point, and I'm gonna bring this up in the book, and I'm not giving y'all no more strategies. You got to go buy the book, right? But one of the strategies that we bring up is about creating your own culture. we all come to the table with the culture of our homes, the homes that we were raised in.
Right.
And everybody all the time is fighting about, when you look at it, what you feel is right and what that other individual feels right. And most of the time it's based on history, what we saw, what we experienced.
Right.
But we in our cult, we have to have the courage to create a new culture, to step outside of the boundaries of what worked in your home. Like you said, Michelle, what worked for you as a child worked for you as a child, because that's what was going on with you as a child. But we got these new kids, Lord Jesus. We got these new babies, right? And you have to have the courage, you and your spouse or grandmama or single dad, you have to have the courage to create a new culture. Now, we talk about creating a new culture. We're not talking about a culture of abuse or some sadistic culture. That's why we talked about the scripture being the foundation, because the scripture has to be the foundation for the culture that we create. And we have students who are dealing with, like we said, insecurities about their body, insecurities about making friends. The children today are dealing with challenges on a greater level. Not they are different. They are different, but they're more they're maximized at a greater degree because of social media, right? It's all in our face. When you and I shouldn't say when you and I go, when I was growing up and when y'all was growing up.
What does he say? He said, "Cause I know y'all didn't have
Y'all,
it."
right. I didn't have it. I know y'all didn't have it.
Now, there was no social media, right? So there was
Thank
no
God.
pressure for God, if we had social media, Lord, help us, Jesus.
Oh my goodness.
But they weren't dealing. They are dealing with a different level of pressure and a different level of sometimes responsibility that you and I didn't have to deal with. And so we have to have the courage to create a new culture in our home. One of the things that my wife and I did, and we learned this from Pastor Keith Battle, right down in Zion Church in Maryland. We do something called the Seat of Honor, right? So to combat the issues of insecurity and what did you call it? Body shaming, right? We, without fail, sometimes we do it every week, sometimes we do it once a month, depending on what's going on, right? But we make sure that everybody gets a chance to sit in the seat of honor that at one night, and whoever's sitting in that seat of honor, everybody around the table has to say 3 things that they love and 3 things that they appreciate about the person sitting at that seat of honor. I take a seat, mama takes a seat, each of the kids get a chance to take a seat, and whoever's night it is to sit in that seat of honor, we all give them that honor. What does that do? It affirms them at the place that they need affirmation the most. It helps them create some security in their heart at the home where they need it the most. So if somebody ever walks up and tries to affirm my daughter, she already has the affirmation that she needs, and she'll be unimpressed by you trolling on her Facebook page. And I will come find you if you start. I just laugh. But that wasn't something that we grew up with, right? That wasn't something that either my wife or I grew up with in our home. But we took the courage to say, you know what? We see what's coming. We see the insecurities that our children are going to combat. Let's try something different in our home and say, let's create a culture of affirming our children as opposed to always chastising them. Because a lot of times our kids only hear from us when it's negative, when they're doing something wrong. They don't get the celebration. They don't get the encouragement. And it's difficult sometimes. It's hard. We got parents, we got we have jobs, we got life, but it is also our responsibility to make sure that our kids find a place of affirmation. And so we did something different in our home, and we created some culture. And it's been a great thing. Now my kids are like, it's my turn to sit in the seat of honor. We ain't sat in a long time. It's my turn, right? But what is that? That's them saying, hey, affirm me. And what does the Father do to you and I? You're the apple of my eye. Come on.
Mhm.
I know every hair on your head. I know every tear that you cry. He wipes away all our past and says, you are brand new. You are a royal priesthood, a chosen generation, right? That's the affirmation that God gives us. That's the same kind of thing that we got to be willing to do in our home. And I'm challenging somebody, create new culture. Stop arguing about who's right or wrong in the house and have the courage enough to create new culture.
Now, I have something here on social media. One of my mentors, Sean Alpera, he's the host of the Senior Zone, and I got him.
Harry.
Man, he gave a great statement. He said, acceptance is a mindset, and in my opinion, must go both ways. To accept, but not to be accepted, creates
Yeah.
a balance. And he asked thoughts, question mark thoughts, and that's good, Sean. You're right. It definitely goes both ways.
Mhm.
I see Emily here. She said that it's true, Pastor Korey, the pressures of the children today are very different, and they don't have, as you stated, social media wasn't a thing for us. Even the things that they call bullying now, I know we called it joning, and we just ate it. Okay, you join on me, I'm joining back. But
Yeah.
it's different
Yeah.
today. So
Yeah.
I can't look at my kids or my grandchildren now and say, "Hey, get strong. You gotta be strong. You're punching your chest. You better toughen up." There's ways to say toughen up, but then you have to get them to see it from a different perspective. And the affirmation is big. And I did learn that years and years ago that if I put a hand to my child and they jump back, it's like, okay, am I getting hit or am I getting loved? And
Mhm.
so I did my best to love on my children and tell them they were great, call them the things that they needed to be, what I felt like God was calling them to be, and not always be. Now I was the more of the disciplinarian. We talk to the kids, my kids today, they'll go, "Dad was harder than mom," but I was the one that was always had to be the one that had to correct most of the time. But I am so proud of my children because of who they've become. And at times I did feel like, man, I'm not doing this right. I just don't
Mhm.
feel like I'm doing this right. So there's so much pressure. And it's easy to say, Lord, I want a family. I'm praying, give me a family. Then when you get it, it's like, okay, Lord,
Take them
help me
back.
with this family. Maybe I made a mistake. I bit off more than I can chew. But the rewards that I see at the end
Yeah.
of the day, when I see them do something great or they say something or they drop, like now I'm listening to my son John, he's doing his stuff called the Father Fam. Shout out to him. And he's got his thing going on social media and he's talking about being a father with his two children now, and his wife. And I'm seeing some of the things that he's saying is the stuff that I didn't think he heard,
Hmm.
back in the day, but
Right.
I see it coming out. It's coming out of him. One of the things, even when we talk about blended family, what my daughter actually, I've never pressured her to call me dad because she had her dad. Her dad's
Yeah.
alive. Well,
Mhm.
she sees her dad, and he's a great man of God. When I tell you he's a good dude, we shared the quote that way, way back in the day. Things wasn't that way. But we were in the pulpit. He's a man of God, and I'm a man of God. We're in the pulpit together. I'm thinking, look how God has turned some things around
Mhm.
and,
Yeah.
and he prayed over me and things in ministry. But I
Powerful.
would never push her to call me dad. But I know that's some things that can you speak on that, Pastor Corey, about is that a thing? If you're coming in, you need to call me dad because some people are like I'm paying the bills here.
Right.
Yeah, but someone that thinks like that, that's about your ego. That's not about the child, right? If it's about the child, then I'm going to be patient and watch this, earn the respect of my child for them to call me father or call me dad. I think I mentioned this. I'll never forget when I was in I mean, my son and I took him to the movies. It was an opportunity for us to build some relationship. I'm like, cool, we're gonna go hang out, spend some time together. And this was a few years in. I had some time. I had sowed some seed into the relationship. We go see the movie. It was one he wanted to see. We get out of the movie. He says, "Man, I can't wait to go see this with my dad." Talk about a gut punch. I said,
Mhm.
well, wait a minute, Negro. That's what I'm thinking in my mind. Wait a minute, bro. Okay, I took you to the movies. But it was a check in reality that said, you know what? I still got some growing to do. I still have some loving to do. But it also helped me realize my goal is not for him to call me father.
Right.
That's not my goal. My goal is not for him to call me dad. I mean, if he calls me dad, what's that going to do? What's
Right.
important is that I am a father and that I am a dad, not just for him calling me that. And so I kept doing the stuff I needed to do to build the relationship, to build that rapport, so that eventually, like now, I'm able to influence my son at a greater level and at a greater degree. It took 16, 17, 18 years. I wasn't going nowhere, right? But
Right.
it took those years for me to be able to influence, for me to be able to have the position now where I'm able to influence my child. And so if you are hung up on what they call you, man, you're missing it. It's not about you anymore. It is about the child that we're trying to raise and making sure that they have a healthy, whole environment, but also a healed model that they can follow.
Outstanding. You know what, guys, we could keep going on with this, and I know I want to respect
Good.
because both of you had things that you guys are engaged in behind. So I'm so grateful for the time. But I want, if you have not been by any of his pages, please find Pastor Korey. You get to know him a whole lot better on social media. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he's out there always doing things with his Bible studies. His book is excellent. And I'm telling you, as I started reading, I started relating, and actually I started reflecting because now I'm at a, I feel like grandchildren are the great do-overs.
Indeed.
Things that you can see. Actually, Diva was the one, my mama used to treat my kids way different than she treated me. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. There's no way that you let Dominique do this because if I did this. And she said, well, it's different when you get the grandbabies. And I'm like, okay. So then I remember asking Diva, it's in the children's church at the nursery desk. I said, okay, she had grandchildren. I said, is it really true? She said, I can't explain it to you, but she said, EJ, it's a different kind of love.
It
Yeah.
is. It
And
Yeah.
so
is.
out of that, I got a revelation, and God said, even the things that you do with your children, they're going to do with their children. So I even thought even further down the line to generational things. And someone asked me today, things I want to leave. I want to leave legacies, and part of that legacy is what I've done. And I want them to way back. Great great granddaddy really believed this, and it just
Right.
shoots the mission of love through our family. So I'm still growing, but I do know that the things that I did for my children, they're going to repeat. And so
Yeah.
you're not only raising your children, you're also raising your grandchildren to your great grandchildren. What you do with them is going to go all the way down the line.
That's
And
right.
like I said, with social media, you both said this, and I'll try to end it here, give you the last word, sir. Even give you, if you got something to add to this, that our children are being pastored by a lot of folks. There's
Yes, they are.
Mm-hmm.
that's out there, but the thing that draws them is the love. And think about how much God loved us. It was His love that drew us to repentance, according to what the Scripture tells us.
Yeah.
And I've even seen that with my children. The more I love them, that promoted repentance. Just means to change. It just means to shift and to change. And this change came more so by my love that I gave them. And correction is love. Don't get it
Yes.
wrong. That you
Don't
got
get
to
it twisted.
Mm-hmm.
so you got to correct, but the love and the embracing them for who they are and not trying to make them something they was not, that helped them to become who they are. And I saw greater results that way than being angry or you're gonna do what I said. I saw some differences there. So any Diva, I'm gonna give it to you. Then I'm turning the last word we want to hear is from Pastor Korey. Diva, anything you want to add to this?
I just think this has been great. Everyone, make sure you reach out and check Pastor Korey out on all his social media platforms. Get both of his books, not
Yes,
just
Lord.
Yes.
get them both. And buy some for your friends. And don't forget to check us out every week here on
Yes.
John
Pastor,
C.
we can
Ministries.
brother.
Yeah, so the book is available at lifeturnllc.com. That's lifeturnllc.com. Don't give Amazon no more of your money. All right. Now I'm just playing, but lifeturnllc.com. Of course, it's available on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, anywhere that you can find books online. It is available there. The audio book will be out in 2 weeks. So make sure you check that out. The audio book. We went in the studio, did some great work on there. You can hear that preacher voice come out on the audio book, right? But make sure you check it out. Again, that's lifeturnllc.com. You can pick up a copy there. Also, you can follow me on social media, Korey Grice, all the way around, K Grice 821 on Instagram. You can also check out the Life Turn Church on Facebook and on YouTube. We're starting a financial fast for Lent tomorrow, so the next 40 days we'll be praying every morning together, 6:30 a.m. You can join us on course on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and on Instagram. Thank you so much, Elder John, for letting me hang out on your platform today. Miss Michelle, love you dearly. Thank you so much, y'all.
Yeah, man. Thank you for being here, guys. And so, family, this is just a portion of what we do. Great man of God, and he's more than just blended and talking about family. He can help you with ministry. There's some things he's walked through, and things he's coaching other younger pastors coming into the ministry, and he's coaching them in some things. So you got questions about.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
Listen, for any Christian counselors out there, if you're looking for a resource, this is a great resource. Anybody who is doing premarital counseling, we are marketing towards churches as well. So if you have a marriage ministry, if you have a discipleship process, this is a perfect book to include in your discipleship process. It has a 7-day devotional journal accompanied with it. So please pick it up in bulk, hand it out to those who are your congregation, who are your family. It is an incredible resource. I promise you that.
Yeah, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I mean, you have your own experiences, but here's some information here that's very practical.
Very practical.
To give your churches and to give other people, or if you want to help somebody, don't think because you got to be called to ministry. Get the book, ingest information, plus what you got friends you can help with the information that you get. So please go by and pick up a copy of that book. Well, y'all, thank you all for joining us so very much. Your time is valuable to all of us here at Vision.
Yes.
We so appreciate you being a part of what we do. You can also go by our website, loveIgiveIserve.com or jsmonline.org. It's the ministry side. Also, John Stevenson Online on Facebook, on Instagram, John Inspires 247, and YouTube. Yeah, got a lot of places that we're spreading ourselves out.
Listen, we got to take it all. I'm trying to figure out this metaverse. That's the next thing we got to go to next.
Right,
as soon as we got used to this Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, they went metaverse. Help us, Lord.
Yeah. I TikTok ain't about that. I thought about doing something. Yeah. Put some Kirk Franklin on dance.
You're crazy.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
But I'm on TikTok too. I'm on all of them. Oh my God. I know. See, this is not going to be your normal podcast. It's not going to be your normal
absolutely not.
We cut up all day.
Listen, if you're watching the replay, please share this out, hit replay. And then also, no matter when you watch it, add your comments, because I saw a few comments down here. There was some good stuff. Tammy Lee, Sean Perry, thank you. Debbie, thank you for adding your comments to the conversation so that people are learning from your conversations. I saw Tammy Lee's about her son calling her mom. So that's good stuff. So we're all part of this conversation. It's an organic conversation we create here at Vision for Change, the conversation at the wall. And so we want everybody to join it. I say this at the end of everything that I do, that listen, all things are possible if you can just believe. We love you, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.